Cheers, everybody. We are back for another edition of Bourbon on a Budget. We've got the full team this week. We had the full team last week, but Brendan was only partially here. COVID had taken over his mind, nose, and taste. So we are back in full force. Brendan won COVID 0, although that wasn't the score last week. So
is it Brendan 1 or is it Brendan 2 COVID 0?
What?
Did you only have COVID once?
Yes.
Oh, well, I thought you had twice. Never mind.
Oh, no, it was the stupid vaccine that didn't work very well. And maybe it worked. I don't know.
Okay. So you had half of COVID.
It definitely did not.
Brendan 1.5, COVID 0.
The vaccine kicked my butt, so I got on that end, and then I got the COVID. Yeah. Actually, I think I'm losing in all this. I don't think this score is correct.
I vote COVID. if we're voting here.
Strong argument. Yeah.
2024. Vote COVID.
So, Brendan, we are glad to have you back. We had a fun episode last week, really good conversation on breaking the budget. Want to talk a little bit about that. I was able to break the budget just a tad, not too terribly, but broke the budget a little bit out this week. We'll, of course, do per-season purchases. We are starting back up King of the Hill Rye. So we'll talk about our King of the Hill Bourbon segment that we did over 5 weeks, the contenders, the challengers, the winner, and then we'll get into King of the Hill Rye. But before we do any of that, if you're following along, if you're listening, if you're watching, if you could go subscribe at the other place. If you're watching this on YouTube or somewhere like that, go subscribe on iTunes or Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, all those places. If you're listening on one of those channels, if you could go subscribe on YouTube. You don't have to watch or listen to it twice. Just go do that. Do us a favor and let's spread the love to the different channels we have. You can also find us on all the social medias, Bourbon on a Budget, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. I don't think there's anything else, but if there is, just check and see if we're on there. If not, and you want us to be, just let Ben know. He's a social media wizard. Before we go much farther than that, let's jump in and chat with Brendan about his return from the dead or return from COVID land, because it was almost the dead. Not really. I don't mean to make light of it, but go ahead and talk to us about getting your taste back, getting your smell back, this process, this journey you've been on, how happy you're glad to be back with us too, and just take it away.
Presumptuous there. It was almost the dead for me in terms of being able to participate in this podcast fully, because I couldn't smell anything. My smell was 0%. I could maybe taste, which I know they're kind of correlated. I could taste like a few things, like something would taste salty, and I could taste like that tasted salty. I could taste that it was spicy or sweet or sour, but nothing beyond that. No other depth to it. So that happened like 2 or 3 days into having symptoms for COVID, and then lasted about 3 or 4 more days of not being able to really smell or taste anything, and then kind of slowly started getting it back. So every single day has legitimately been better than the one before in terms of the smell and energy and everything else like that having the COVID brought on. Was not fun. But yeah, I could smell most things at this point. There was like 4 or 5 days ago, sitting out back, my neighbor was barbecuing, and I got a whiff of legit barbecue smoke, and it was a really nice, like, oh, I can still smell stuff. Like, this is cool. Fortunate because like my wife lost her smell as well. Kind of. It ended up like the smell ended up altering, so she couldn't smell things, or she ended up not being able to smell like half of things, and the other half of things smelled like chemically and gross. So yeah, not fun. But like I said, I've been able to smell a bit more each day. I've been doing smell therapy with like essential oils that our friend Joe recommended, TJ. And so I've been smelling that for like 5 or 6 different oils for a minute each day at a time. And that's been helpful in recognizing my brain. And I just started drinking a little bit of bourbon again, but more so smelling it and trying to recognize like different flavors and notes, and just kind of retraining the brain to like remember stuff. So fortunately, I didn't lose it for that long a period of time. I know other people have lost it for like months. Some people have lost it permanently. So lucky that it was only really like a full week without smell. And I'd say probably like at 90% at this point of being able to smell stuff.
Go ahead, Ben. I feel like you had a question there.
Yeah. Did you come back with like low proof specifically, or is it like just straight back into what you are normally drinking?
So the first thing. So I would actually go by on my whiskey cabinet. On top of it, I have a bottle of Old Forester 100 and Old Forester 100 Rye, which, spoiler alert, we will review later in the week. And I would open, because there's just a little twist off cap. I would go by and I would smell it like every single day to see if I could smell something, right? And nothing. And then finally, like day 5 or 6 into it, I was able to get like a little bit of sweetness, almost like barely kind of smell. And so I would just smell this every day because I was familiar with like what the rye spice would be like, and every day would be able to get a little bit more. Then when I actually tried bourbon for the first time yesterday, I went with Henry McKenna 10 because I knew what it tasted like and smelled like. So I knew I would be able to kind of have some recall there. And I wouldn't say like I can get 100% of it, but like I was able to get vanilla. I was able to get oakiness. I was able to get a little bit of cinnamon spice. So I was like, you know what? Those are all things that I've been smelling vanilla. I've been smelling a cypress wood oil that we had, and cinnamon oil and clove. So a lot of those things are present in bourbon. So I was able to get all those, or 3 of the 4 of those in the Henry McKenna. So proof, I don't know if proof made a huge difference or not, but I did go with something that was familiar to me.
I feel like, well, first of all, a couple of sports references. So Ben, you can clock out for a few minutes here. Did you see that Kirk Herbstreit a few months ago even said like, no, I got COVID months ago and I still haven't gotten like my taste or smell back. I think I saw him say the other day that it's slowly coming back, but he lost his for legitimate like months and months, which is just brutal. Like, so I'm glad that your situation has improved much, much more quickly. That said, Kirk doesn't do a bourbon podcast that I'm aware of. So, I mean, it is more important that yours came back first, you know?
That is true. Yeah, I was a little concerned about that. I was like, we could probably fake it for a couple of weeks, but eventually this will become problematic. No, I'm happy I got it back too. Obviously, it's fortunate that it was only a week.
The other thing I was going to say is another sports, sorry, Ben. Everybody has to go through like the concussion protocol. You kind of went through COVID protocol. Like you're training yourself back up. You had to pass all these tests. You have, Joe recommended the essential oils, and I come back to the group chat that you and, I got linked up in this group chat with you and Joe because you're trying to get him to weasel some whiskey, some scotch out of some people.
No.
And, I come, I know you Italians, I know who you are, but,
Mamma mia.
But, I come back to the chat. I don't know if I was driving or out with friends or whatever. I come back to the chat and you guys are like discussing essential oils. There's some multi-level marketing type stuff going on where you're signing up for his essential oil business now, and
my wife can help you out with that.
That's exactly what happened.
You're quitting 247 to sell essential oils now on the side and everything else. So, no, I'm just kidding. But I'm glad that you've returned. I'm glad that Joe's home ribbon. You do a bourbon podcast with Ben, and yeah, he's right, Melissa. I don't. When I walk in the house, there's all these sample bottles over, and I don't know if they're whiskey or essential oils. I drank some chamomile. I drank some chamomile the other day. It wasn't very good, but. But Ben didn't suggest any of this stuff to you. At least Joe's a better friend than.
I think Ben gave me the COVID, so I couldn't smell anymore.
He bottled it up and mailed it to you. That wasn't Pappy. That was COVID. Similar proofs. Let's jump into our segment. It's the long-awaited return. It's been like a month or two, but the long-awaited return of King of the Hill. We had Brendan froze for like 15 seconds there. So
my internet's back. I think. Am I around? I can hear you now.
For those watching or for those listening, you just had no clue and probably wonder why I interrupted. Brendan was like frozen smiling for like 30 seconds or maybe like 10. I wish I had screenshotted it because it just looked amazing. So
Brendan never smiles that much. So dead giveaway.
It's hard to get it.
I realized it was freezing and I knew I was smiling. I thought it'd be weird if I went from this to not. So I just kept doing this and apparently it just froze like that forever.
That's hilarious. So anyway, King of the Hill back for hopefully 5 rounds. I don't know. We've got some bangers in here for this. We're not going to tell you what all of them are, but we have King of the Hill Rye. We'll jump into that in just a minute. But to remind everybody, we played King of the Hill with Ben's pick, 1920, an Old Forester bourbon, 115 proof, if I remember correctly.
It was my pick, but that's okay.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Oh, so Brendan got the 1920 pick. We put it up against Old Forester 100, kept it in the family. We put it up against, I think, Maker's Cask the next week. Then we put it up against 1910 when we did our toasted episode. And then we put it up against Rare Breed. It got knocked off against Rare Breed. Rare Breed beat it. It's a cheaper product. We rated it slightly higher on flavor, and then value obviously being a little bit better with being $10, $15 cheaper. Do you guys remember what week 5 was going to be? What was going to be the Rare
Would
Breed?
it have been like a George T stag or something?
No, I don't think we're going that high. I don't like you guys that much.
Well, we tried.
It's in the past.
I'm trying to remember what it was. It was going to be like it was going to be like $100 bottle.
Maybe a Stag Junior.
Yeah, it was going to be something in that range. It was going to be, or maybe it was the Smoke Wagon Uncut Unfiltered.
That was it.
That could have been it. Yeah,
that was
yeah.
it. That was so we were going to go Smoke Wagon Uncut Unfiltered, but it got knocked off in week 4. We have Ben, hold it up for this King of the Hill
counterpart.
Yeah,
Rare Breed. Rye, baby.
Rare Breed bourbon knocked off our champion, knocked off our king last time, and so we are going with its counterpart, Rare Breed Rye. Shaken, not stirred, Ben. Do you have the specs on Rare Breed Rye? Does anybody want to kind of give that out, talk about it a little bit? Brendan, go ahead.
I got it. So Rare Breed Rye came out, just a year ago, 2020, technically?
I think so. Yeah, it's brand new.
Yeah, and I think in our market, like in Florida, like we were just able to get it was a few months ago. That was one of the first pursuits and purchases that Ben was actively trying to get. TJ procured it for him like a good friend, and now you guys can find it fairly regularly. I know I can get it up here, whenever, but yeah, there's 1 or 2 stores I know will have it consistently. So it is a straight rye. It is proofed at 112.2%. That's barrel proof. No age statement on this one. I didn't actually do a lot of deep research beyond what the age statement was not, which is nothing, but maybe it's 5 or 6 years. Who knows? I'm just speculating here, though. Mash bill, 51% rye, so a low rye, 37% corn, and 12% malted barley. MSRP is about $60 on it. I'm going to try to do a quick Google if someone wants to take over for me and see if I can find what the age is speculated to be.
So Rare Breed Rye is one of Ben's favorite things. Like Brendan mentioned, we did find that. I happened to just be in a store. Shout out Kenny's in Riverview. Saw it on the shelf, grabbed it, and got it for Ben, I think for his birthday. What a good friend I am. So grabbed that for Ben. He really liked it, killed that bottle, was in another store yesterday, Party Liquors, and saw it on the shelf for $60. So we needed it for this episode, and so picked it up there from Party Liquors, and now we have it. I know that there are a few stores in Tampa. Lucan's usually has it pretty consistently. It's a tad bit higher than that bourbon. So we're looking at another $60 bottle, which is about what 1920 was. Mm-hmm. So we're looking a little bit more expensive than the Rare Breed bourbon. So that's going to factor into some things when we get into some of these different tastings. But that's what we're looking at here. Brendan did get the info back. Reportedly a blend of 4, 6, and 8-year straight rye whiskeys. So somewhere around a 4 to 6 year, I would assume, is what the majority of this makeup is. Can't imagine they're using as much 8. But a good product. Who wants to talk about our challenger? Ben, do you know who the challenger is?
Do I know who the challenger is? Yeah. How about Baby Rare Breed? How about a Wild Turkey 101 rye? Just slightly underage, slightly less proof. Still Wild Turkey. A lot
less money.
a lot less money. This is a $23 to $24 bottle versus the $60 bottle. But you get a little more age, a little more proof with this Rare Breed. So we're going to be doing a little battle. A battle.
The second most popular TikTok video we have is me taking Old Forester 1910 to 1920 and going no and clashing into each other, and that got a ton of followers.
I think that was the last TikTok we've uploaded.
COVID.
Oh, that'll be lit. So let's jump into this. Let's jump into this King of the Hill. Tough road for Wild Turkey 101 to come up against quite a challenger here. But like all great Hollywood movies, we can't lose in the first 10 minutes. So here we go with our two. We're all doing it blind, if I know correctly, right?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that these will be super hard to distinguish. but we are doing them blind. From a color perspective, I can look at them and I think I can tell.
Lower your hand so the people at home can see, but there is a difference on my screen. I can tell the one in my right, your left is darker.
This is my right, yeah.
Yeah, no, that one's lighter.
Yeah, the screen flips it around. So yeah, this is actually my left.
That's why I said your left, my right. Listen.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. That's fine.
Ben, what are you doing?
I spilled some of mine.
Smell it, lick it, taste it
on my keyboard,
and let us know if it's a rare breed that you dropped and spilled or 101.
I don't know yet. Hold on.
That's amazing. All right, let's taste these. I don't have time to play with Ben's games here. Brendan, let's taste these and go.
All right, so on the nose, my COVID nose can distinguish a difference between the two, knowing which one is which. I am pretty close to knowing already on the nose which one is which. What I like about the rare breed, and I want to throw this to Ben in a second here because he's really the one who loves rare breed and kind of introduced to me as I was starting to taste rye and enjoy ryes, or at least getting used to them. He kind of walked me through how to like absorb the rare breed and how to understand its tasting profile. Yes. So for me, what I like about the rare breed is got a ton of proof, a ton of spice, but a lot of delicate vanilla and zest with it too. So Ben, what kind of stands out to you about the rare breed? What draws you to it and made this the choice for King of the Hill for you, the contender?
So rare breed's really interesting to me, and this just goes back to just general stuff with specifically rare breed. I've always found that rare breed early on drinks really peppery at the beginning, and then as you drink through the bottle, it gets way more vanilla. And I just think that comes a little bit of air. So if you could, at the early stages, open this bottle, at least open your pores up a little bit, like earlier on, it'll get way more sweet on the nose. But originally, when you first get into like, at least the neck pour, we should probably do an episode just on neck pours if that's even a thing, because you know, I'm a believer specifically with this whiskey, right? But it's really peppery on the nose, peppery on the palate. But as you drink it, it gets way more vanilla, way more sweet, minty, refreshing, not caramel, very citrusy notes. So. Yeah, when I'm tasting both of these though, one that I'm thinking is the 101. I would say it smells, it smells like just a little harsher, right? A little more ethanol based.
Whereas the other one, because it's lower proof,
right?
It's fun.
But it doesn't have as much sweetness on the smell,
right?
That's what I think. That's where I think it lacks. Is it's not very sweet. It's also not very full.
It's not full. I'm with you there. And yeah, the smell for me, it's almost funkier.
It's just rye.
The peanut butter part of the rye that I don't always love the way it comes across is super peanutty there. And I will say this on the taste for the 101, guys, I think is actually sweeter, but not in it's like a candy corn, overly sweet kind of where the rare breed unfolds beautifully. It's very delicate, but strong.
Don't talk crap about candy corn.
I mean, candy corn's got its place. It's
not in bourbon.
Definitely not in bourbon.
We should soak candy corn in bourbon, and that could be our Halloween treat. Not for me, not for like kids or stuff. I was promised way more alcohol and drugs when I was a kid. Like, just to let you guys know. All right, like be careful. Like they'll put drugs in your candy. Like nobody's putting drugs in candy.
Mine was always needles. They would put needles in candy bars.
Why would they do that?
I don't know
why would people do that? Like who's just like
and the parents having to go through and check to like make sure like it wasn't open.
Right. Who's doing that? Who has that much time?
What about toothbrushes? People ever put toothbrushes in?
Do you ever get like okay, this is way off subject, but like what about the people that like gave out the crappy candy? Did you guys egg their house or no?
No, I didn't.
I never egged houses.
TP houses, but not because of candy. Just
what if you went to somebody's house and they give out an apple? Like I think I just put it back.
I wouldn't leave. I wouldn't take it. I'd just be like, all right, thanks. Just leave it there.
Have a nice night. All right.
What about full bars? I gave out full bars in my neighborhood.
Mr. Moneybags.
Well, you're rich, bro.
Mr. Monopoly. Holy crap. Okay, how about this? point of talking here. The Wild Turkey 101 and the Rare Breed Rye have the same mash bill. So we're primarily tasting age and proof differences.
Yeah, age and water.
Yeah, age and water. That's what we're kind of going back and forth. But I do think it's very distinct, though. Like if I pick up one and pick up the other, it's like, oh, this one's way higher proof. This one's more nutty. And
you're talking about another 15% proof. Like you're talking 15% more.
Yeah.
Water in the other one.
And age, like Ben said, we don't know exactly the difference, but I mean, I would say the quality seems better too. Like I think if we put a little bit of water in the Rare Breed, it was first off, we're all saying Rare Breed. We all know which one it is, right? At this point, and that's
pretty
advanced.
obvious.
For me, Rare Breed was A. Let me make sure. Yep, that's A.
Cool.
So yeah, we all right. Clean sweep. It's cool. But I think if we took a little bit of water and put it in the Rare Breed, it would still. If you got it somehow close in proof, we don't have a proof measure instrument. I don't even know what it's called, but it does exist. I think it would still, if they were similar proof, would still win. I think it's just more depthy and nuanced, and the age is more refined, if you will.
So is it? And my answer to this is yes. Like I'll answer. This isn't like I try and trip anybody up. Is it 3 times better? Because you can buy the other one for $20 and you buy this one for $60.
Shoot.
I would say
my answer is yes.
Yes, and I don't know about 3 times better. Like if we did our score system, TJ. But if someone was going to give me a gift, a $60 bottle of Rare Breed or 3 $20 bottles of 101, I would take the Rare Breed every time it's a gift.
Absolutely.
I would.
I don't drink enough to need 3 bottles of 101 ever.
And we have so much in our collections anyways.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
So, but no, I agree with you on a rating scoring system, the way that we do the review. So check out the review of Old Forester 100 coming up on Thursday of this week. But little plug there as they call it in the business.
I think that would be interesting. I think Old Forester 100, 3 bottles of that versus 1 bottle of Rare Breed would actually
that's a good conversation to have. I probably still lean the Rare Breed, but it's definitely a closer conversation. And yeah, you're right. The way we do our scoring, it wouldn't be a 3 times better score, but would it score a 7.5 where the other one scores 6? When you look at the variance between our scores, it's not exactly linear, right? Like, something that's twice as good because you're going to get some points on different stuff. When you look at, we should do this, Brendan. We should kind of total up all of our averages. Maybe we'll do it after the show and kind of talk about it a little bit. But the lowest we've ever rated something's a 4, and the highest we've ever rated something's an 8. So, nothing will ever score. Not that it's impossible, but very likely nothing's ever going to be below a 3, and nothing's ever going to be above a 9 because we're not going to say anything's perfect. And so when you look at that variance, a 6 to a 7 is a massive difference. And so if we said that Wild Turkey 101 was like a 6.5, and then we gave Rare Breed Rye a 7.5, like that is huge. Like
that's
that is
a tier.
Ton of variance and probably 3 times better when you look at how we've rated everything as far as the scoring system goes. So anyway, this moves on fairly easily. We wanted an easy contender. We like to keep it in the family like we did last time. We did 1920 versus Old Forester 100. I think that was closer than this. I do think that was.
I would agree.
I think the Old Forester 100. I just think Old Forester's kind of base product here with the Old Forester 100 is better than the Wild Turkey 101 products. That'd be a good head-to-head, but I'm pretty sure that Old Forester would wipe the floor with that. Have
you guys had an Old Forester product that you don't think is great value, or at least very good value?
The 86.
86 one. I think that's the one I like.
100 is. I mean, the 100 is so much better for like $3.
$5 more. Yeah.
My first purchase that I think when Ben came over, we've talked about this on the very first episode, the beginnings episode. Ben brought over a bunch of different bourbons, let me try different stuff. The first bottle that I went and bought was an Old Forester 86. I think it's the first bourbon bottle. I sure have bought like Wild Turkey 101 in the past and stuff like that, or Makers or whatever. But first bourbon bottle that I bought when I was into it was Old Forester 86, and I just ended up making old fashions with it because it wasn't good enough to sip. So $16-17. Yeah, I agree completely. For a couple more dollars, go with it. But same thing with Wild Turkey. Like I'd never buy the regular standard Wild Turkey when for like $3-4 more, I could get 101.
Yeah, I don't know anyone who buys regular wild turkey over 101.
That's what?
That shouldn't even be a product they sell.
What's wild turkey's based on? Isn't it like 80, 81 proof? Like it's really watered down, right? Or am I off on that?
At least the Forester gives you the 86.
Right.
No one should be buying just plain wild turkey. Like that is just a bad decision.
Well, and,
that's how it gets
what I will say about that is I agree with you that no one should. But as a new person into bourbon, the reason I bought that 86 was not a price thing. It was 100% because I didn't know if I could handle the big proof of 100 or 101 that I was looking at those things and seeing. And so that is why I went with that 86. Yeah. So it's kind of served its purpose. It's better than what we've kind of like crapped on in the past, talking about Basil Hayden. It's a little better than that. That wild turkey that you asked about, Brendan, is 81. Okay. So maybe slightly more approachable on those cheaper ones, but once you get into bourbon, man, like the 100 and the 101 are for just a couple dollars more. I mean, water it down yourself and your bottle goes farther than it does by buying an 86. The other thing I'd say is maybe that mint julep. I've not tried that, Brendan.
Oh, I've heard that's awful.
I'd like to get it. It's only like $20. I'd like to get it just to try it, just to say I did, because it's not like you're investing $50-$60. I want to try the Statesman. If anybody's listening to this and has a Statesman, I'd love to get a sample of that. So you can have a sample.
Send it on down.
You had the same thought too. I was going to ask them for the exact same thing. If anyone wants to send us a Statesman,
I'll send you whatever you want out of my collection minus the Stag. You can have, if you want a George T. Stagg Jr. or George T. Stagg Jr. Sheesh, why am I saying that? If you want a Stagg Jr., you want an Eagle Rare store pick, you want a Blanton's, whatever you want, I'll send you a sample if you have a Statesman. So hit my DMs. Any other thoughts on this Wild Turkey 101, Wild Turkey Rare Breed? Do we want to say what's coming up next week? Do we want to let the people in?
Well, real quick, Wild Turkey 101 rye was better to me with it opening up, which kind of goes to Ben's theory. When I first poured it, I was like, this is swill. This is awful. It's now serviceable. It's fine. I think it'd probably be a good mixer for a Manhattan or old fashioned or what have you. But still, like this rare breed is pretty special, which is what we thought going into this. It's going to be an interesting few weeks with the rare breeds. I think it's going to be a heavy hitter. What do we got coming up, TJ?
Next up on our list, Old Scout single barrel strength rye. What is, Brendan, you have that?
I do.
What's the proof on that? How close are we getting? Are we going above? Are we below?
Well, I don't have the bottle right in front of me. It's going to be close proof wise. It's going to be in the 110 to 120 range.
So it's not like 140, 130, something crazy.
It is. Right. It's MGP juice, which is going to be a higher rye mash bill. Price wise, it's going to be about $55. Age is going to be about 4 years, I think. So a little bit younger, and it's going to be different. It's going to be a very different experience within the same price point. And same proof, but the mash bill and the age, and it's from a different state. It's going to make it different. So it'll be a good, interesting head-to-head.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. This is going to be a tough road. I think we knew. I think we made it a little too easy on 1920 last time. I think we knew going in each week that 1920 was going to win. I think we knew this week that Rare Breed was going to win.
Which is how I'm not saying, right? Like in a video game.
I'm not saying that Rare Breed doesn't win the next 3 or 4, but it's every week is going to be. But this is like the SEC of Rise. Like every week is about to be a battle. Minus, that was just Tennessee that we played week 1. So every other week, Georgia, Alabama, Florida, Texas A&M coming up next. So going to be a tough one.
You lost Ben. This is like the first round of like a Street Fighter. It's really easy.
I was thinking, no joke. I was like, when they go to like Mortal Kombat and they like scroll down the entire mountain, you see like the people up, and you're like, oh, Liu Kang's the first guy. Yeah, I got him.
Yeah, but that dude with 4 arms is just chilling.
Yeah, he's chilling. He's ready to rip. TJ, if you don't know those references, like, come on, man. Like, that is classic.
Next up, our favorite segment.
Oh, jeez.
No, I play Mortal Kombat, bro. What do you think? I'm 6?
Get over here.
I'm not as old as
I was about to do that.
I'm not as old as you two, but I have played the game. So But on a serious note, next up, our favorite segment, trademark, patent pending, registered trademark, all those things, pursuits and purchases. Brendan, start us off.
This wasn't really a pursuit because I didn't think I was going to be able to find it anytime soon. And it wasn't one I was going to go out of my way to pursue, but it was one I sent to TJ a couple weeks back when I heard about it and said, this sounds interesting. And TJ said, you know what, Brendan? You have such great taste in bourbon. It does sound interesting. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I went to ABC the other day. I was out of quarantine. I was like, you know what? I might treat myself. If I buy bourbon when my dog dies, I might as well get bourbon when I get my smell back too. Celebrate the good and the bad. You know what I mean? I found it. I wasn't even looking for it wholeheartedly, but I stumbled across it. Heaven's Door. I almost said Heaven's Gate. Heaven's Door. It's Bob Dylan product. Yeah. Technically, it's Bob Dylan art, which is really pretty. If you can see it, it's actually kind of a cool bottle. But it is finished with a red breast cask, which we are fans of red breast here on the show. I introduced you guys to Irish whiskey through the red breast portal. You guys were both fans of that cask strength. So this is basically 100 proof bourbon, 10 years old. Or is it Tennessee whiskey? Either way, finish in a red breast cask. Here's what Bob Dylan, fellas, has to say about it. I'm really glad Heaven's Door is being associated with red breast. It's a thrill and an honor. I mean, what a quote, right? I mean,
what a quote.
That's just a money quote.
Oh my gosh.
So it's a little pricier, but it's a cool bottle. I think it's going to be very good based on the reviews I've seen, based on liking Redbreast and all their products. I've heard very good things about Heaven's Door at its price point. So I'm looking forward to this, even if it has a crappy quote from Bob Dylan on it. How does it feel to be on your own?
Dude, I'm excited for it.
Knocking on heaven's door.
Here comes the story of the hurricane.
Well, when Brendan approaches Heaven's Door with COVID, he might at least grab a souvenir.
I did think it was appropriate that I beat COVID. Knock on wood, I'm still in the pneumonia timeline. Maybe I shouldn't be counting right now, but yeah.
Don't count your chickens before they get cleansed of COVID. Ben, did you pursue or purchase anything this week?
This week, yeah. So my area just added a Total Wine and more than just Total Wine.
What's the and more?
The and more is gin, tequila, whiskey, scotch,
beer, cigars,
maybe even cigars.
It's like
maybe
the Beyond and Bed Bath and Beyond.
But yeah, everything, but also bourbon. And so I went into this week and I was chatting it up with some employees, and they had received that day some Sazerac Rye for $35. I was like, might as well grab a bottle of that. That's good. And so I grabbed one of that, and they had a Hancock Reserve, which I sampled. And supposedly that's some limited release. I didn't think it was that great. So
isn't Hancock the Blanton's B batch?
It's the right. It's
here.
Like poor man's Blanton's, right?
Yeah.
But they still charge you like $60,
which is the retail of Blanton's.
Right. So I was like, no, it wasn't that great. It was like in the 80s proof, and if you know me, that's unacceptable.
It does taste a lot like Blanton's, and honestly, I would much rather pay $55 for that than $110 for Blanton's. But
I would too, but I can get Blanton's for retail. So
it wasn't
nice.
Great. It wasn't great. So I was like, #pass. And so I picked up a bottle of Sazerac Rye.
Awesome.
That was great.
So to add to the other 7 that you already have. Very good. Okay, so let me try this out. Let's see if this works. I'm going to share a picture here. Oh, it worked.
Wow, cool.
Share the screen.
Why is that port side up in the top right corner?
That's not the case at all because I made sure to share one window.
If you shared 2 windows, that would have been.
We'd be in trouble. So for those watching, you can see the picture that I have up there from my flight this weekend. For those not watching and only listening, I'll have to describe it to you. I took an excellent picture of a guy's elbow and then 4 really, really good bottles of whiskey. I have a Buffalo Trace Kosher Rye. I believe it's the same one we had on the show. Is that right, Brent?
That's correct.
And I wanted to see how that compared to the other things that were in the flight. I typically, when buying a flight just for reference point, I don't know what everyone else's thoughts are on flights. I try to buy things that I've not had before, but I wanted to use something that I did enjoy from the same distillery. I wanted to try this while trying these other things that I'll describe here in just a second. The second option on the flight, or the second drink on the flight, is a Baker's 7-year. The third option on the flight was an Old Rip Van Winkle 10-year. And the fourth option on the flight was the Van Winkle 12-year. The flight itself cost $40, maybe $42.
Great value. Good value.
Great deal.
Value off the charts. Still broke the budget because I essentially got a drink and a half for $40. Like, so it still was expensive, but again, a really, really good value to be able to try 2 Van Winkle products, a Baker 7, which is nothing to like turn your nose up at.
I'm really interested in that. Yeah.
Baker's.
Buffalo,
I miss the old Baker's bottling, and Baker's is good. Very good value.
And then that Buffalo Trace kosher rye that we all had on the show for Brendan's blind test was fantastic. Was really, really good. And so $40 for that flight. Again, I posted on all our social medias. If you go follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you'll see that. Real quick thoughts on that. I think that, Brendan was saying that I probably like the Baker 7 the most. The Baker 7 was fantastic. Really, really good. The smoothness on that Van Winkle 12 was just undefeated. It was so good. And it did win the day. I mean, it was easily the best of the 4. I let Kara try both Van Winkle products, the Rip and the 12-year, and she commented on that immediately. She was like, "This is like drinking nothing." Like it was so smooth, so easy to drink. Both of those fantastic. The Baker's was great, and I think that in a different situation, it probably would have been the best thing on most flights. It was probably just as good as the Pappy 10, right? Such different products, talking about a wheated bourbon or like a wheat, correct? Not even a wheated bourbon, but a wheat compared to the Baker. But the Baker's was really, really good. And then the kosher rye was just kind of against a bunch of really heavy hitters and so different than everything else.
A lot lower proof than all of those, right?
Much lower proof. The rye factor coming in with stuff that was much, much sweeter. It was just totally like kind of out of left field, but still very good. Like that kosher rye, if you can find that for like $40, $45 retail, I would absolutely recommend getting it.
That would be an elite daily if it was accessible. Yeah. But at the price at $40, like it is a great value if you can find it.
So the Old Rip Van Winkle 10, which Ben and I have stumbled across a couple of them, and I got one out of the vault. To me, that was not like, I mean, it was good, but trying it up against the 12 was really unfair to the 10.
Is there a price, or sorry, not a price, a drastic proof difference between those two, or is it just age?
Old
Can you zoom
Rip.
in?
I don't
also,
know
that label for the Old Rip 10, like it's pretty cool. It's one of the best labels.
I really enjoy the Old Rip 10 label. It's solid.
So it's an old wizard on looks kind of like an old scroll. Yeah, that's a great.
Yeah, it is definitely like Lord of the Rings canon.
We're in the middle of watching the Hobbit series right now, which is what we watch when we don't feel well. We just finished.
I haven't watched any of those yet, and I really need to.
Better than Lord of the Rings trilogy.
I mean, I haven't watched any of them. So yeah, I know.
Wow, but you like Harry Potter? It's interesting.
Harry Potter's great. I've read all the books too.
I know. I'm just saying. Usually, one likes one. Someone's gonna, you're gonna kind of.
I know.
Enjoy it.
I know.
All right. So we're deviating here. Sorry, TJ.
I was giving time for TJ to Google things.
Yeah,
I was just rambling.
We went way off course, and I still don't have an answer for you.
Anyway, if you're looking for fantasy books, Brandon Sanderson is an excellent author.
The 10-year looks to be about 107 proof. The 12-year is a much lower proof.
Well, there you go.
Am I looking at like the 90.4 here?
Whoa, 107 for 10. Hang on.
I send it back.
Van Winkle Special Reserve.
12. Is it lot B, correct?
Yeah, I think it's the lot B.
Proof. The 107 for the 10-year. We can confirm that. All right.
Right. Yeah, I had that bottle. Yeah. Yep.
Lot B, 90.4.
Wow. No wonder. I send it back. I send the 12 back.
So
90.4, but you like this, so the age,
but
makes
it, but the flavor, like this, yeah, it wasn't so
Oh.
much the proof because like I had
Clearly,
been drinking
yeah.
all day. I was at a 1-year-old's birthday party. I tweeted that the other day. So it wasn't like I was like, oh, I can't take the proof. It was just so smooth. Now, again, the proof being low maybe takes something away from it, but like, I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about taste to me, you know, not necessarily what the proof being massive is. And, you know, we've talked about that 90 being kind of our cutoff, right? Like that's where Eagle Rare is. That's where Buffalo Trace is. That's where I'm sure that's where that
everything is.
Yeah. And so, yeah, would the lot be better way higher? Probably, but it was still just so great. Really good.
We don't talk about when we're talking about age and proof, and even with the rare breed versus the 101 earlier, where something ages in a warehouse, like there's these money spots in warehouses and the way the heat flow is. And I don't even know the full science behind it, but like that makes a difference. And I know with the Pappy, if you read Pappy Land, like that's super, super prevalent in that book, right, TJ? Like that's an important part of all of this that we would have a hard time quantifying because we don't have no idea how like a rick house works other than just basics there.
You'd love that book. That Pappy Land book is so good. And I listened to it on audio book, which was really, really good. I listened to it actually going up to Tallahassee, and that book was fantastic. But I would certainly
cried at the end of it. I got a little teary-eyed.
It was good, man.
Yeah.
It was a little emotional at the end. There was a lot of personal stuff put in there by them. But yeah, Pappy Land was fantastic. Would definitely recommend it. But yeah, it talked about that. The sweet spots in it. So yeah, I typically gravitate toward the higher proof stuff, but again, at the end of the day, it's about taste to me, and the flavor on that was just fantastic. So anyway, broke the budget a little bit, but still feel like I got a heck of a deal to get two Van Winkle products, another Buffalo Trace, kind of highly sought after, allocated, and then in the Baker's 7. So, but that's it. I think that's all we have for tonight. You guys have anything else? Any closing thoughts? Any shout outs? Any well wishes? What do we got?
Next week we'll be talking about not Pappy Land, but Pappy Gate.
Netflix. Oh, you watching
new documentary heist? Watch it. We'll be talking about it. It's great.
I read an article recently that it was talking about the secondary market and trading, and if you're someone like me who'd maybe just made a purchase and lost. Well, not like me, like someone I know. Excuse me.
Someone you've heard of.
Yeah, that may have purchased a scotch they were looking for a little while, and then it broke in transit. Like the secondary market and why it's so not even shady, but just kind of you have to keep it hush hush. The Pappy heist that we'll talk about next week, and that's part of this documentary Ben's talking about is brought up in the article as like a big reason why the secondary prices blew up, or at least kind of
I'm ready.
The poster child for it. Yeah.
Pappy Gay, baby.
I'm excited to watch it. We were talking about it in our group chat, and then Joe texted me on the side and said, "Hey, you guys should do that episode on Pappy Land." And I was like, "Dude, we're literally talking about, or not Pappy Land, Pappy Gate." So yeah, we'll talk about that on next week's episode. We will continue King of the Hill RYE.
I got a shout out real quick,
and then we'll do pursuits and purchases and move on. Brendan, yes, shout out, please.
To you, TJ. Thanks for being such a great host. You're awesome at this. Yeah,
right.
Awesome.
Wow, geez.
And hopefully we can enjoy a pour together coming up this week in Charlotte. That'll be nice.
Yes. But what's the real shout out?
Seminole CPA on Twitter. He is a big fan of the show. Good dude. And is doing some really fun experiments right now with different types of blends of prominent bourbons. He's working on one right now that I have not been able to try yet, but I have poured it and letting him marry. But this is only day 2 for drinking bourbon for me, so I want to give it a good shot here. It's 40% Maker's Cask Strength, 20% Eagle Rare, and 40% what's WRDO? The Woodford Reserve Double Oaked. There we go. Yeah, so he's got a Cask Strength Weeder. He's got a super traditional high quality bourbon, and then he has a double oaked toasted finish
marshmallow pancakes.
I bet you that's probably pretty damn good. So he tried
Seminole CPA. Why don't you send in some blends for us to review? We'd love to.
Oh, there you go. There you go. That wasn't what I was aiming for, but Ben.
He blended that into what you were going for.
He bended it.
He bended it.
All I'm saying, Seminole, is if you want us to review some of your stuff,
Seminole. He calls him literally calls him Seminole. That's amazing.
Sir Seminole,
Sir Seminole.
Sir Seminole, send us a.
Blue Seminole. All right, let's get out of here.
All right,
Or
that
not.
was amazing.
Cheers, everybody.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck just happened there. Hey, tune in on Thursday morning when we review Old Forester 100. It's gonna go well. I can tell. I may have already recorded that, but either way, it's gonna go really well. I recorded it in my mind. So until next time,
Creepy.
for Ben, Cock, Brendan, the COVID Slayer, and myself, TJ Pittenger, cheers.